Building out AI agents can be hard, especially if you are just starting off and coming across loads of different complex workflows online. It doesn't actually need to be that tricky and challenging. It can be much simpler while still being able to provide a valuable output in the end. I've been playing around with tools like Make.com, which is a great beginner-friendly tool to help build out AI agents. I'm here to show you how you can build out your first one using just 4 simple steps. I'll go over the business problem, show you the solution, and the important details of each of the steps in order to get there. You're welcome to follow along if you get yourself a Make.com account, and you can be on your way to build your first AI agent. If you're new to the channel and don't know who I am, my name is Moiz, and I help business owners take advantage of the AI opportunity by building out agents and solutions to help their businesses grow. I've spent close to half a decade working and advising with multiple national corporations on data and AI strategies, and I'm here to share my knowledge and give practical tips to help you take advantage of the AI opportunity. Okay, so let's get started. What should the business problem actually be? Why should we build this in the first place? And how is it actually going to benefit a business? So the business problem we are going to start off with is going to be to do with a real estate agency called Best Real Estate. So imagine you are Best Real Estate and you are struggling to get more leads who are people essentially interested in either buying or selling property. So you're struggling with this problem and you come up with this genius idea to give a free custom property guide to them, and in return they give out their details and they can eventually book meetings. In this scenario, we want to be able to collect the person's information through an input, and output is give them a property guide. So this is how the solution looks like. It looks pretty neat, I think. A nice 1-2 page PDF, and you have some great info on there about the area. In this scenario, our example is Harrods in central London. And we can jump into Make.com to show you how we can generate an example like this in the tool and technology. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to show you this is Make.com, and this is a great platform for building out any simple AI agents or even more complicated ones without the need for much coding. So right now I'm on the home page, and to get started, you can see on the left hand side you have loads of different options. Make has a set of templates which are predefined, and you can see the templates over here. They have these connections already made for all different scenarios, from WhatsApp to emailing to Notion, and you can really pick and choose whatever template you want to get started. For our scenario, I'm going to go back to scenarios and create a new scenario. So this is your home for building out your agent. You can see that you have a plus sign. So with this plus sign, you can select whatever tool and technology you want to get started. So for example, if I click plus, I can use Google Sheets, I can use OpenAI, I can use Airtable, Drive, Gmail. So this really depends on what stage you are of building out your AI agent. If you are just starting off and you want an input as a first step, people might submit it through a Google form, they might write an email, they might submit it through, I don't know, another method, right? So there are loads of different options, and you can continuously just keep adding tools. If you've got, let's say, Gmail here, you can have loads of options on what email to create. You can copy an email, delete an email, loads of different stuff essentially going on, but you can build these tools up and to create your own agent. I've already got one pre-made, so we'll use that as an example. And this is a property guide demo that I have for you. So if I just click on it, you guys can see this is the 4-step process I was mentioning earlier. So we have 4 different modules in here, and all of these helps us to get the property guide that you guys were seeing earlier in the video. So just to give you a brief explanation of what this does, the first step is really a Google Forms. So a user submits their details through a form, contact information, name, that sort of stuff. That form goes into a Google Sheet for storage. So essentially a row on the sheet with the same information basically there. Perplexity AI, so one of my favorite AI tools, is there to do most of the magic, right? Once you know the person's information, they can generate that guide based on the set of prompts you give it. And the last step is email. So how does the user actually get this guide? you can email it back to them using the email they submitted in the initial form as well. So pretty standard, I think, 4 steps, but still super valuable if you're a real estate agency and you have this idea of trying to get more leads coming through the door as well. Let's go through each of the steps in a little bit more detail just to show you how it works. So if I click on Google Forms, so let's click the first one. So in Google Forms, you have a form ID. So this is just to identify what is the form identifier you want to use. So you can create a form within the normal way of creating a Google form and copy and paste this ID and add a limit if you want on how many responses you need. For anything Google related, you generally need to set up a connection. So I've got mine connected to my Google account, and that's pretty much it. So anytime you have a response, this will essentially run and it will generate and pull through the response that was in the Google form. So to give you an idea of what my form looks like, if I just click here, you can see this is the property guide. We have full name, email, phone number, a bunch of different questions, and we already have 4 responses coming through for this demo. So loads of information in here, and someone can type in their name, the email, submit it, and they'll go through make.com. That one's, and you can also put a timer in here at the beginning. So this essentially says, how often do you want to run this, right? Do you want to run it every 15 minutes, every hour? Depending on how often you think the requests will come in, you can essentially schedule this automation workflow how you want. So this is the input step, right? This is the way a user will submit their data into the system. The next step is a Google Sheets. So this functionality I have is really add a row. So anytime someone submits a new response, it gets added as a row in Google Sheets as well. And it's pretty simple, just a simple table column. And if I just click on it as well, you essentially just can link it to your drive, similar to before, select the sheet that you have. Does it contain headers? Yes. And in this section, this is essentially where you do a bit more complicated mapping. But what you're saying in here is, right, we have a column in our Google Sheets called full name. We have a column called email and phone number. Now, how do I know what field that links to in my Google form? So you can essentially click here, and it seems complicated, but you have the same names here, full name, email, phone number. This is literally how it's written in your Google form. And you can essentially, in this case, select the value button here, where I went to, if I click full name in this scenario, I click text answers and value. If I select value, it's a dynamic field. So anytime someone submits a first name in the form, it will make sure that Google Sheets understands that as an actual first name and map it to the first name column. That's a need for selecting dynamic fields, and you can do this with the remaining fields. So email, phone number, property address, etc. Right? This one can be a little bit tricky, especially if your transformations are complicated. But in this scenario, my Google Sheets columns were named pretty much the same as my Google form. So it's just a case of selecting which of the columns in my Google Forms it correlates to. And if I go back, you can see there's quite a lot in here. It's mainly the mapping thing which makes it slightly more trickier, but nonetheless still manageable if you know what fields and columns you're mapping to. The third one is Perplexity. So this is an AI tool where you want to essentially let the tool know, hey, look, I have information in my Google Sheets and I want to generate this custom property guide. So you want to prompt the system to generate this guide. You can specify how many pages you want, what that prompt would look like. And the way you prompt is quite important because it will determine what the output of the PDF will be. So you can see that I've got my content in here. You are a top London-based real estate agent working for Best Real Estate, etc., and looking to write a nice long report. And you can even put your dynamic fields in here as well. So if you want to say this is a custom property guide for, and the person's name who requested it, you can do that in this scenario as well, which is what I've done. Any way to customize the guide to make it more relevant to the person who submitted the form, you can add dynamic fields into your prompt in order to help you do that. You can select your Sonar Deep Research or whatever model you want from Perplexity. You can pick and choose. One important thing to note in here is you need to set up a connection. So with every single one of these applications, you need to add a connection and you need to generate sort of an API key from the Perplexity website, which isn't too difficult. Just it might ask for some money, $3 or something like that, but you just follow the steps in Perplexity, generate an API key, and you can copy it in here to build a connection. And once you've got your main prompt, which is the tricky thing, you can then save this and run it. And this is the thing that's going to take a little bit of time to run. The Google Forms and Sheets are quite simple, and this will take a while to generate the report. But once you get your API key, pay a couple of dollars for it, it can generate quite a number of reports. And whether you're 5, 10, 15 people submitting requests, they'll continuously generate it. The last step in here is a Gmail. So this is how do you want to communicate this back to the sender or the person who requested it in the first place. So we want to say, hey, look, if Perplexity generated this report, I want to send an email back to the person who requested it. So if I just click in here, you can have a connection to Gmail, making sure you log in, you have the right credentials in there. And then again, it's back to the mapping, right? With a lot of these, you want to be able to, okay, what email address am I using? Rather than saying, I want this person's email address and manually type it in, you want to say, anytime somebody submits a form, I want to use the form's email address and make sure I send it to them and make it quite dynamic. And you can put the subject in here, the content in here, what your email is going to be, and include the rest of the dynamic fields in here to make it more customized to the person who essentially requested it. And that's pretty much it. You can put the file name in here too, which is quite important, the one that gets generated from Perplexity, and the data and the contents behind it as well. So you just got to make sure that when you're selecting here, you have an option now to select either from Perplexity, from Google Sheets, or from Google Forms as well. So in this scenario, I want to select the contents from Perplexity. So I would essentially go to choices and go to message content. And in there, you would essentially have the contents of your guide that has been generated as well. And similarly, for the rest of these, if you wanted to pick up a Google Sheet field or something from the Google Forms, you can essentially just click on one of these cells and bring that detail in as well. In the email, I brought in the email address from the Google Forms. So just collecting email, text answers, and value to get the value of the email as well. So there you have it. That is 4 simple steps to be able to generate your first AI agent. If you followed along, it might take you some time to get familiar with some of the connections. I think that's the trickier bit, and some of the mappings as well. But all in all, it's something that is a very good starting point, a very good starting exercise if you're starting off building your agent. And especially if you work in the real estate industry and you're thinking about what use case can I use to get more sales, here's a great one. Not going to take much time, not going to take much effort to do. Simple sometimes is the best rather than overcomplicating it as well. So that's all I have for today's video. If you need advisory or you want to book an appointment to see how some of these work, you can find my links down in the description below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, do all those great stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.